After witnessing a breathtaking race at Singapore, we now move on to Suzuka for the Japanese Grand Prix. Singapore, as we expected, produced a 5-star race, with Carlos Sainz and Ferrari taking the race win, with Lando Norris of McLaren and Lewis Hamilton of Mercedes covering the remaining podium places. Red Bull were far off the pace at Singapore, but the same cannot be expected at Suzuka, a much more traditional racing circuit. So, to boost their chances, teams are bringing upgrades, which they think will be enough to give them a shot at challenging Red Bull. So in today's video, let's talk about what we can expect in terms of upgrades, especially from the likes of McLaren, Aston Martin, Ferrari, and Mercedes. Let's start this video with Alfa Romeo. Despite being 9th on the constructors' standings with just 10 points to their name, the 2023 campaign has been pretty decent for Alfa Romeo. Their upgrades have been pretty decent, as the team has gained nearly 4/10 of performance. While that is impressive, the team had a poor car from the start, so that gain in performance has not really translated into some good points finishes. The Swiss team introduced new parts at Singapore, which were intended for the Japanese Grand Prix, but the team is bringing more parts to Japan to build up on the parts brought at Singapore. New parts will be surrounding the car's floor and rear diffuser to improve the car's consistency over a race distance. Changes to the side pods are also talked about, as the side pods is a part which the team has not even done one huge upgrade on yet for the season. Their side pods design has been generic so far, sticking with their initial downwashing concept. The team has not tried on introducing a water slide or even an aggressive undercut like the Red Bulls up until now. The Swiss car does have a great balance, and the team will be working around only the drag and efficiency problems to make great use of the good balance which the car already has. Next team on the list with upgrades is McLaren. The Woking-based squad have really shown their rivals on how to upgrade a car in season, and they made the next step of that in Singapore. The team introduced a batch of upgrades, aiming at improving the low-speed performance of the MCL 60, and they worked really well, which can be seen from Lando's P2 finish. The McLaren did not have the pure pace to beat the Mercedes cars, but had enough to defend positions with some handy DRS from Carlos Sainz. The upgrades seem to be worth around 4/10 of a second around the Singapore circuit, which could be more or less on other circuits. But we can definitely see improvement of pace from the upgrades, and at Suzuka, McLaren are set to bring upgrades once more, but mostly to Oscar's car, as they only brought a single batch of upgrades to Lando's car at Singapore. This gives us the full scope of the upgrades the Woking-based squad is planning to introduce at Singapore, specifically on Oscar Piastri's car. The team will be bringing a floor edge upgrade, with the rings on the edges, similar to the Red Bull floor edge. The team will be introducing this new floor fence design at Japan on Oscar's car, and the floor edge and the floor fence upgrades are aimed at improving the McLaren car's aerodynamic efficiency. A side pods upgrade is also on the way, with revised inlet designs much similar to the Red Bull, and a side profile revision taking place aimed at improving the flow of air around the side pods. The side profile is moving more towards what Aston Martin had on its AMR 23 when the season started, with a curving side profile. The Singapore developments include a revised front wing end plate, revised mirror mounting, and halo furniture to work in conjunction with a new bodywork shape for the engine cover and side pod and diffuser. All these updates will make its way to Japan, onto Oscar Piastri's car. But the team is also bringing in a new part to Japan, to both cars, which is focused on the car's tire degradation problem. We all know how the MCL 60 is able to fire up its tires quickly, which is a good thing in qualifying, but not so good on race day, as it can lead to high tire degradation issues. The team are reportedly working on developments to address this issue, while keeping the ability to fire up its tires quickly. Next, let's talk about Aston Martin and their upgrades for Suzuka. Aston Martin is a team which got the development race entirely wrong. Last year, it was Alpine, and this year, it's Aston Martin. The Silverstone squad introduced small parts to every race, just like Alpine, and that has not worked out for them. The only big upgrade the team made was back at Canada, and that upgrade took the AMR 23 out of the proper development direction. Now the team is trying different revisions to get back on the proper track, but it is not working out for them. Back at Zandvoort, Alonso was challenging Max Verstappen for the race win, and at Monza, Alonso finished P9, and at Singapore, Alonso finished P15. Singapore for Aston Martin was a big shock, as they expected to fight for the race win alongside McLaren, Ferrari, and Mercedes. Since the Canada upgrades, the AMR 23 has better efficiency, but the car's balance is kind of thrown away. Singapore demonstrated this perfectly, as we saw Alonso struggling to keep the car where he wants, as he was suffering with both oversteering oversteer and understeer, just like the Red Bulls. It is crucial for the team to fix the balance issues of the car, and the team has lined up certain upgrades for Japan to work on those. Specific upgrade is made to the side pods, around the undercut area, to make changes on how the air flows from the undercut to the rear of the car. Tire warm-up, particularly the rear tire warm-up, has been an issue for Aston Martin, so there will be minor new parts introduced around the car's rear to make improvements around this issue. Next up on the list is Ferrari. Since the season's inception, we saw that the SF23 was a car which suited low downforce racing circuits. Proof is Leclerc's podiums at the Belgium and Baku. But since the summer break, the Italian squad has been able to properly figure out the car's issues and address them with respective upgrades. The result, the SF23 performed exceptionally at Singapore, a high downforce circuit, which was not expected at all from Ferrari. Carlos Sainz drove a masterclass race at Singapore to claim his second victory and Ferrari's first victory of the season. Ferrari brought a revised front wing to Singapore, which was an iterated version of the car's original front wing spec, which was used at Bahrain. The Italian car's front wing is much more similar to the Red Bull design, when considering how the airflow interacts with the front wing. Ferrari was a much-talked team regarding the technical directives at Singapore, and the Italian team was regarded as the safest team to escape the technical directive. We still do not know if and how much other teams have lost performance due to the technical directives, but Ferrari are in the clear easily. The Red Bull looked unstable, but there were other reasons surrounding Red Bull's lack of pace around Singapore, which we intend to cover in one of our future videos. Back to Ferrari in Japan, and I believe Sector 1 will be a struggle for the Ferrari cars, with wind-affected high-speed corners. We know that the SF23 is not very stable when wind is at play, so that will be very interesting to see. But to test things out, the team is introducing a huge package at Japan, which will focus on general improvements, as it is data gathering for Ferrari for its 2024 car. The 2024 Ferrari car is said to be Red Bull inspired, so we do expect the upgrades to be inspired by the Red Bull RB19. As for the 2024 car, there are suspension changes rumored, inspired by Red Bull obviously, also tweaks to floor design, but we will have to wait some time to see how these rumors are going to materialize. Next team on list is Mercedes. Mercedes had a brilliant weekend at Singapore. They played the game bold, pitted for the new medium tires they saved under the VSC, and then gave an 18-lap qualifying stint for the win. Unfortunately, Russell crashed out of the race, while Hamilton picked up the pieces, sneaking into the podium. Strategy as usual, the silver arrows were bold, but it was Sainz's masterclass execution which won at last. Nevertheless, a pretty decent weekend at Singapore, and now they are traveling to Suzuka with upgrades in hand. As we all know, the Brackley-based squad are now working hard on next year's W15, and Ted Kravitz of Sky Sports was able to get some news regarding next year from Toto Wolff at Singapore, as the Austrian said that his team is working from scratch. This is not good news for Mercedes fans, but that is what the team has to do, because of the team developing an entirely new chassis from ground up. So Allison and his engineering team are using the W14 as a test vehicle, adding new parts to see where it takes the team. In Japan is going to be no different, as there are reports circulating suggesting that Mercedes might be bringing some changes to the car's diffuser and the underfloor. The underfloor upgrade has been tipped for a long time, but it might actually make its way to Japan, considering the track's high downforce nature compiled with the requirement of pretty high efficiency. Other than that, nothing much more, and as we know of yet, the Silver Arrows are planning something huge for Coda, same as last year. Back to Japan, I believe they have a pretty decent car for Suzuka, and they have the potential of making a challenge for podiums. Before we end, I wanted to touch quickly on the Red Bull upgrades as well. It's not a planned upgrade, but a missed one for the team. Remember the new floor edge the team brought to Singapore? They reverted to the older specification after not being able to find a proper balance to the RB19 on Friday practice. But Saturday and Sunday proved to be even trickier, so it might not that the revised part is misbehaving. Therefore, the team will bring that revised floor edge to Japan and would want to see how that is performing in a much more traditional circuit. With the race weekend coming ever so close, what are your expectations for the Japanese Grand Prix? Which team with the potential upgrades do you think will come out on top at Suzuka? Very much into your thoughts and perspectives in the comments section down below. And on your way down, don't forget to subscribe to the channel to get notified of our future uploads to keep yourselves up to date about the 2023 Formula One season.